5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
How about we do it again?
6, 7, 4, 3, 2, 1. I think I farted.
Okay, let's try one more
I
time.
definitely didn't.
Ready?
I can move you. Making review. Making review.
Say
6,
5.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Greetings, Rank and Review listeners. You have found your way to episode 92, and this episode is a tribute to Mr. Robin Williams. There's all sorts of controversy and confusion, it seems to be, around the death of this very talented, very funny individual. But in the end, I do think he is a victim of the plague of our age, which is mental illness. It's unfortunate that he is going to be largely remembered as sort of the tragic end that he sort of led to, as opposed to all of the smiles and laughter that he has given to a lot of people. So this episode, Jason Dubray and myself, your host and Random Canadian Larry Parsons, are going to talk about 6 movies that use Robin Williams. It's almost a random sort of selection, and I know the conversation has some ups and downs, but I just want to make clear that I do have a lot of respect for this man, and that I take mental illness and the problems around that fairly seriously. So I hope you enjoy this episode, which is not very horror or sci-fi oriented. And if you have any feedback to give me, I would welcome it. You can send your thoughts to ranknreview@gmail.com. That's ranknreview@gmail. And please look for the podcast on Facebook and look for the podcast on iTunes. Tell that other film fan in your life that there's this podcast that's out there waiting for them. There will be spoilers. There will be coarse language. Welcome to episode 92. So I've got Jason Dubray in my creepy basement, and we're going to talk about Robin Williams, who left the world. When was it? It was August 11, 2014.
You know something was weird about that day?
What's that?
That's the day of my grandfather's funeral, and so it was obviously a very busy day.
Right.
And then family went up to the lake at the very end of this. And then I turn on my iPad, and the very first thing I see is Robin Williams has died. And I'm like, what the heck happened? And then start to read it. So I'll always remember the day that he died,
right,
because of that.
It's a weird thing because this is a tribute episode to Robin Williams, and I was looking over his IMDb page, and I was sort of thinking back on my thoughts on Robin Williams. And here's the thing. I like the man a lot. But at the risk of talking shit about somebody on their
I was afraid about this, yeah.
On their tribute episode, when I scroll through the IMDb credits, there's not a lot of movies that spark out for me. There is always going to be another goofy Robin Williams movie coming out on the horizon, and we just kind of got used to it. Mm-hmm. But that said, I was unusually bummed out when I found out what had happened. Well, there's extenuating circumstances. He had mental health issues. He was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. He had fallen on and off the wagon, and there's talk about medication changes. But whatever happened, this very funny man, this very talented man, ended up taking his own life.
In one way or another.
Whatever that
he
was.
ended
He ended up taking his own life. And I wonder if he could have known, or in his illness, he could have realized how much of the world he would have, bummed out with this decision. Because I'm not a big Mrs. Doubtfire fan. I'm not a big fill in the blanks fan. RV, Father's Day.
Was anybody an RV or Father's Day fan?
I don't know, but like
Williams himself put that movie down.
Right? Did he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Honestly, like I have Robin Williams movies in other categories, but when I decided to make this list, I actually had to buy 2 movies to fill out 6 titles for Robin Williams, and I couldn't put my hands to Good Morning Vietnam, which is one of the genuine ones that I really, really like to talk about. But it's interesting. He's always been on TV. He's always been in movies. He's always been, I think, reasonably funny, but I've never been knocked over by him. But I've always been happy that he was there, and I certainly don't think he's untalented. You listen to the voice work in Aladdin, and yeah, he plays a lot of stereotypes, but he's a funny dude. He moves. His brain is fast.
I don't think they had celebrities as cartoon characters.
Not so prominently.
Yeah, it became, now it's everywhere. They can't release a movie without a celebrity voice in it. But after Robin Williams and Aladdin, I mean that changed.
And it goes deep into my childhood, too. I remember watching Mork and Mindy and thinking it was kind of amusing. I remember watching those old Comic Relief
those
videos
are great.
where he would get major stand-up celebrities to come raise money for homeless people. I mean, I really liked the man. I part of me wishes that he had a better agent, or that maybe he just decided to focus more on being a dramatic actor or whatever. Because honestly, even though I don't have anything against the comedies, Club Paradise is not on this list, most of the ones that we're looking at are either seriously toned or where the performance from Williams is a sincere one. It's not this wacky, over-the-top thing. Because one of the most tragic things I found about his death is that he was taking a lot of hits those last couple years.
Yep.
Not just personally, but the climate he grew up in, it was okay to use the gay voice in your stand-up, and now it's not anymore. And he would use the weird Black Bubba character when you're talking, and now all of a sudden, nobody really talks like that. Well, some people really talk like that, but it's a generalization. And all of a sudden, people like Key and Peele and shows like The Family Guy are calling out Robin Williams on being racist. I don't think there was a racist bone in that man's body. I don't think there was a mean bone in that man's body.
Doesn't seem like it, no.
And he became an easy target.
It's interesting to me. I see 3 acts to his career, and the things that you're saying, I think we're very much on the same page. I don't think he was the acting god that sometimes he's made out to be. For every good one, there were maybe even 10 duds. I mean, he worked a lot. That's
prolific.
Fair enough. And I mean, I guess he had a couple marriages, and he probably needed the money at different points. But I really noticed a shift and into darker material in the last third of his career. So he had kind of the stand-up and the Mork and Mindy stage, then the film stage, but he became known as a comedic actor, but it seemed very light, even when he was dealing with heavy issues in Good Morning Vietnam and Dead Poet Society and a couple of the movies that we're going to look at here today. But I really noticed in that year when he had Insomnia and 1 Hour Photo, and I think was Death to Smoochie in that
probably
time.
in that neighborhood anyway.
Yeah, and so I saw some really good work from him in that realm, but then I also saw some very, very bad film choices.
Yeah. And again, I think he was trying to please everyone, Sure, he'll do Flubber, and then he'll do 1 Hour Photo. And when you look at a movie like 1 Hour Photo, he definitely rolled up his sleeves and got to work on that movie,
that was an underappreciated performance by him. I mean,
very transformative.
It was.
And, he can be really good. I feel like I'm at risk of sitting here like I'm talking shit about Robin Williams. We did a tribute episode to Wes Craven, and I mentioned he did make some really shitty films, which he did.
Yeah.
But
everybody does. I mean, that's... I don't know anybody... even the most renowned actors have duds. I mean, I think a lot of the films that Williams chose around that Mrs. Doubtfire era were because of his kids.
Yeah.
And I think with Mrs. Doubtfire, maybe he was sort of channeling a previous divorce, or like there was something in there that he wanted to
Well,
to
it
deal
wasn't
with.
about a guy dressing like a woman. It was about a guy trying to be with his kids and
Yeah.
willing to do literally anything to
Yeah.
be with his kids. I understand the sweetness of it, but that movie has always given me cavities. It really just is just not
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah.
I think for me, like I think it was probably Good Morning Vietnam. I think, did he get nominated
He did.
for that?
That was his first nomination.
Yeah, he got a lot of critical respect for that. Even though it was very much him being Robin Williams, there was just a little bit of that dramatic edge in there. And it gave him that first taste of the sad clown thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Dead Poet Society is. That's what Good Will Hunting is. Is this, we're banking on the fact that we know Robin Williams and Robin Williams makes us laugh. And now he's going to break our hearts.
And that's when people said, "Oh, this guy can act."
Yeah. He could always act, by the way.
Yeah, and that was the thing. And there's somehow a difference, well, a major difference in some ways, but between him and Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
But the frustration I had with some of Williams' choices at points was very similar to my regular and consistent and never-ending frustration with Adam Sandler is, I know that guy can act.
Yeah.
And he just goes for the paycheck. He just does the Adam Sandler character over and over and over again. And then every once in a while you have a movie like Punch Drunk Love or I don't know why I'm talking about Adam Sandler, but the comparison is that, Williams could have done the Good Morning Vietnam type of thing with, more regularly. He could have gone with better material. Now, there's a lot of things that go into that I'm not completely aware of as far as movie choices and working with friends and that kind of thing. But I just wish that, I'm happy that we have, I still think there are quite a few good movies to talk about with Williams.
Yeah. Well, and I do think that he was such a nice guy that when people like Bobcat Goldthwait said, I wrote a script, would you be in my movie? He would say, yeah, for sure.
It's giving back. It's the comedy,
exactly.
The comedy world. They are...
And not only does he
there
open
for each
doors
other.
for his other comedic friends, but, just by leading an example, he legitimized the idea that a stand-up comedian could become an actor. And not just an actor, but a very, very good one. And now people, I honestly think that's what started the whole trend of mining stand-up comics for sitcoms and sort of like Robin Williams had a lot of influence, and he went from a clown to a sad clown, now unfortunately to a dead clown. And it's somehow weirdly more powerful now. Like the movies carry more weight because of the extenuating circumstances.
There's so many things in there when you look at his work, and it's just like, okay, well,
But I wonder how he would feel about that if we could talk to him. I wonder if he would just rather we were able to think of him as that funny, wacky Robin Williams guy. Like, this whole new context has been put over his entire career. Everything's been colored by the way his life ended. So what I'm going to try and do in this podcast is sort of focus on the good, talk about the range and the performances that he gave, and just sort of celebrate the dude, because as much as I don't own a lot of Robin Williams movies, I do consider myself a Robin Williams fan. And I understand he was very make-fun-ofable, and I understand that, he comes from the old-school comedy, and he'd been accused, I remember hearing him on WTF talking about stealing jokes, and he was very open about it. He was high on cocaine for about 6 years. Yeah. And he probably stole some jokes. Basically.
Well, throughout Mork and Mindy. That whole series, he was,
And then he cleaned himself up, and then he was a good actor and sober for like almost 25 years before he fell off the wagon again. He's an interesting dude. And we could go on all night, but we have 6 movies to talk about. So is there anything else you wanted to say by way of introduction?
It's interesting coming up with ranking these movies as 6, because what I'm ultimately doing is the films. But if I was to rank the performances, it would be a different order. Okay. Yeah.
I think that's what I did by quality of film. I like to think that that's what I did. Yeah. This is funny, this is the second episode in a row now we're talking about Terry Gilliam. There's a Terry Gilliam film in here, and I am such a fan of Terry Gilliam.
He's amazing.
Sometimes I wonder if I don't cook the books a little bit that way, but I'm imperfect. If I was perfect, Jason, I would be boring.
Yeah, exactly.
The 6 films with Robin Williams that we're going to talk about. We have Man of the Year from Barry Levinson, who's a director that I like. We have The Fisher King from the aforementioned Terry Gilliam. We have a tough little comedy called World's Greatest Dad from writer-director Bobcat Goldthwait. We have The Night Listener. Easy for me to say, starring Robin Williams and Toni Collette. We have Steven Spielberg's problematic, at least according to a lot of critics, Hook, and we'll wrap it up with the one that got him his Academy Award, Good Will Hunting.
Politicians are a lot like diapers. They should be changed frequently and for the same reason.
Tom Dobbs was the biggest name in fake news.
More and more people are watching your show, Jon Stewart, Bill Maher, for news. How crazy is that?
Until the day he decided to stop going for laughs
Maybe you should run for president.
and go for votes instead.
Tomorrow, I will officially announce my candidacy for president. Brace yourselves, people. It's now time for the campaign.
From Barry Levinson, the director of Rain Man, Wag the Dog, and Good Morning Vietnam.
He's in the debate.
You want to know my history, basically? I did inhale because I thought, what the hell? It was lit. It's in my hand. I'll inhale it. When I was a young boy, I used to look at pictures of naked ladies. I just farted a little while back there. If any of you wanted to ask.
He's not a puppet.
I support hydrogen cars.
It's weird because you're backed by oil companies. And if you're representing special interest groups, maybe we should be like NASCAR. Little patches on the back. Enron. We take your money and run.
Smackdown.
He's not politically correct.
4 million illegal aliens are crossing the border with bedroom sets and night tables.
He's a one-man party.
You don't have to have an amendment against same-sex marriage. Anybody who's ever been married knows it's always the same sex.
He sounds different. Don't know what to do with it.
But what started as a joke
Have you given any thought to what the makeup of your cabinet might be?
Well, I've always been a big fan of hardwoods like teak or mahogany.
is about to end up in the Oval Office.
At 1:23 East Coast time, the free world will now be led by a comedian.
Whoops.
So I've talked about Barry Levinson in the past. I think he's a good director. I like that he picks different projects. Once again, he takes big swings, and he was pretty tight with Robin Williams.
Yep.
Before this, they made a deeply strange film called Toys.
I remember that.
I almost would want to talk about, but I think it's currently out of print. It's not really easy to get your hands to. But that movie is capital F fucked. I don't even know that it's good, but I kind of like that it exists.
Yeah, me too.
This time he's got Robin Williams playing this preposterous role of like a celebrity TV personality who somehow manages to get elected as president of the United States.
You know, that reminds me of something when I was watching it. What could that possibly be?
I know.
I don't know.
This movie was stained by current events. It really was for me. The two things that worked against this viewing of watching the movie, which I don't think is a bad movie. I don't think it's amazing, but I certainly don't think it's bad. But the two things working against me was the swearing in of Donald Trump as President of the United States made this not feel like it was satire. It makes me feel like when Kanye West says Kanye West for President 2020, that's a completely reasonable thing.
No, it is.
It's officially like that is allowed. If you're rich and you're popular, you can be president. So that rubs me the wrong way because it's just too close to home. The satire doesn't work.
Or it did work. It was prophetic because
Yeah.
this was 2006, so 10 years
Levinson
before this happened.
Levinson had made a different political thriller called Wag the Dog, which is amazing. And I think
Much better,
it's
actually.
so much better than
Yeah.
this one that's the
That's the
other thing that
problem.
kind of takes away from it. This is from the man who did Wag the Dog, which, to be fair, was based on a good novel and was adapted in part by David Mamet. There was a lot of people here. This one he just wrote and directed himself to give Robin Williams a really good role. You cast Robin Williams as a stand-up comedian who, you know, decides he's going to run for president just as a lark, as a statement against the system. And, he wins. It's like I heard someone refer to Donald Trump as the dog who caught the car. Like, the dogs chase the car, but what would they do if they caught it, right? Well, we're going to find out. And this is the movie. Robin Williams is elected president of the United States, and he has to deal with it. And his modus operandi of keeping it real and keeping it light and keeping people laughing seems to be surprisingly effective. Until, of course, the powers that be start to close their fist around him. What did you think of Man of the Year?
Well, no, I wanted to defend, unfortunately. I mean, like, you know, I don't know why I need to defend it. I think the idea behind it was if Jon Stewart ran for president, because the TV show that Robin Williams' character has is supposed to be kind of a version of The Daily Show. But, you know, it was very... It just felt like a simplified version of that. I saw this in theaters, and I really liked it when it first came out. watching it this time, for whatever reason, I spotted a lot more problems with it. And there's really two movies in here, and there's a movie I really like, which is not a comedy at all, but is kind of a paranoid thriller.
Yeah.
And then there's the comedy movie. And my problem with it is that I don't think the comedic, satiric part of this, which centered around Robin Williams, was that funny, even though they had a lot of people who are very funny people around there. Him. But I think Levinson, as he does, he lets actors kind of be themselves and improvise. I think they were just kind of allowed to sort of spitball and try different things, and they kind of cut it together. But the laughs felt very, very forced this time.
A lot of the scenes where it was Robin Williams in front of a crowd, I guarantee you, it was like, go riff, Robin. Right?
But even scenes, some of the scenes with Christopher Walken, for example, I really, really, really like Christopher Walken. He's another guy, if we were having a similar type of show, we'd be like, okay, he did that and that and that. But wow, like...
He is Christopher anything for a dollar Walken, but he usually gives you your money's worth. He never disappears into a role. And in fact, he's in this movie with Jeff Goldblum, who's another actor just like this. I like both of them, but they never vanish, right? I always know I'm looking at Christopher Walken and Jeff Goldblum. There's a very specific sort of thing that they bring.
Lewis Black is a very talented
comedian,
political comedian in there, but there wasn't anything funny about his character. It's almost like... they let Robin Williams go, but they kept him sort of...
I couldn't help but wonder if there was some stuff cut out with the Lewis Black character.
I'm sure there was a lot of stuff cut out.
Because, I think he's a funny person, and in a way, it seems like he should almost be doing the Robin Williams role, right? He's been authentically working the stage for the last 10 years. Not that Robin Williams isn't a stand-up comedian, but he's been mainly an actor since the late 80s. It seemed to me like you've got Lewis Black, let him do his thing, let him off the leash. What I felt with Lewis Black is that he was really thrilled to be in a Barry Levinson movie and be surrounded by all of these celebrities. He's always got this nice warm smile on his face, which is completely antithetical to the persona that he usually runs. Like, Lewis Black is a comedian who will fucking die on stage. He'll be halfway through a rant and something will pop in his head and flop.
I saw him when he was in Saskatoon. I mean, he was... I was the only one the group I was with. I was the only one who enjoyed it. But
he's just screaming.
Well, yeah.
But again, he's fine in the movie. But I felt like they didn't use him for his strength. Same thing with Jeff Goldblum. He's fine in the movie. He's kind of playing a sleazy politician, but he looks kind of half asleep.
It was. I mean, I'm not even sure. It's kind of a one note. If you have Goldblum, if I have Jeff Goldblum in my movie, I'm going to use him a lot better than that. But I don't know.
Levinson, same thing with Wag the Doll. You look all over the screen, and there's
amazing
actors who are in it for a scene and then disappear. And I think that's the benefit of being Barry Levinson. You can make a phone call and say, can I get a couple days out of you, Jeff?
But
yeah, absolutely.
But there are other filmmakers like this, and they seem to use the talent better. Like Robert Altman was like this. That he could call up anybody, and they'll be in the film, but they'll have a moment, which is great, whether they're playing themselves or they're playing a character. Also, Woody Allen, God bless him, or some people hate him, but I don't. I happen to like him.
Depends on the day.
He finds, a moment for all of these because he's worked with almost everybody.
He will justify why he has chosen to have this uber celebrity there. And I think, honestly, after a while, I mean, he's trying to make a good movie, but he wants to have his peeps around him, right? And, if it's not a big, great role for Jeff, but it'll be great to have Jeff around.
Yeah. That's just about Jeff, though. I think he's just happy to be part of different projects and just work with people. He's a good guy. But
it's interesting we've gotten this far into it, though, and we haven't talked about... Sorry, did I interrupt you?
No, go ahead.
We've got this far into it, and we have not spoken about Laura Linney.
Yeah, that's the half I was getting to, and that's the half of the film I really like.
Right.
Yeah, so she's working for this company that have found a more efficient way to do the computer voting.
Yeah.
But she finds a glitch, which would be very, very embarrassing to the heads of the company, and Jeff Goldblum is, of course, one of them.
It's a glitch that
could alter
it affected
the effect
result of the
yeah.
election. He was not supposed to win the election. This glitch is why he won the election. The people did not actually vote in this crazy son of a bitch, not like the real world. It was an accident. And this is the good and bad thing about it, because I get that as a sort of a plot point, so they didn't have to justify the unbelievable premise that some celebrity would be elected in such an important office.
Yeah.
But the powers that be that are trying to shut her up should have either fucking killed her or left her as a crazy person. Like, it seemed like they were tipping their hands so badly. They were so aggressively shitty to her that, like, I just believed they would kill her. It seemed like...
Well, they were, I mean, they are probably later on when they realize the crazy thing is, because they make her seem crazy. They drug her, you know, and that's not working, because as unbelievable as it is, Robin Williams' character kind of starts to listen to her, and that's where the two plots get connected. And then you know, if they're going to kill her, you know, they're starting to plan to do that, but it's too late by that time.
It would look bad at this point.
But she was so good.
If she died in a mysterious car accident, it would look bad. Laura Linney's always good. She's a very competent actress.
But her movie would have been more interesting to me.
I think you're right in that she was in a different movie, but I'm not sure if that was Levison's script or her performance. I wonder how comfortable she is with comedy. I look at her sort of back catalog of work, and I look at and stuff that I really like You Can Count on Me and The Exorcism of Emily Rose, and she's like, there's a very preciseness. She makes choices, and in an environment of improvisation and that sort of free open air, I wonder how well she swam with the crowd.
She was in a TV show which was considered a comedy, which I can't say a lot about because I haven't really watched it, but The Big C.
I've not seen it.
And she actually won an award as a comedic actress.
It's about people dying of cancer, right?
Well, no, I think she gets a cancer diagnosis or something. I don't know. I haven't
watched
it,
but I haven't seen it.
But
she can.
But it'd be a certain type of comedy. It'd be dark, or it would be human comedy, not Robin Williams.
I'm not even trying to talk down on her. Like I say, I do think she's a good actress. I'm just wondering if maybe they wanted somebody with more comedic chops to sort of.
But was there anything funny in her story? Like I don't
think
know
the
where...
scene where she was drugged could have potentially been funnier. I think that the awkward romance between her and Robin Williams could have been funnier, and that she's sort of initially disgusted by this person, this falseness, like that he didn't take politics seriously, that in some level this is all a game or a popularity contest. That's how she looks at it in her head, and then she realized that this person has got a heart and a soul and actually is funny. You know, she seems to have this hard outer shell. I don't know. I like what the movie is trying to do there, but I feel like the villains are strangely inconsistent. If she's walking around with a secret that big, it seemed weirdly sloppy to drug her and make her look crazy. If they're that evil, just crash her car and make it look like she ran herself off the road. Again, I'm talking pretty deeply seriously about a movie that's more of it's got a satirical bent, but I think at its heart, it's better at being funny than serious in some ways.
I didn't laugh this time. I don't know. I'm not sure it succeeds as a comedy. I like it as keeping the satire in there potentially as a bit of a paranoid thriller, you know. As you're talking, I'm thinking, well, is it her performance that drove me to that? Were those scenes supposed to be played for laughs? I'm not sure how the drug scene could have been played for laughs. I
don't know. I'm positing. I'm putting it. When it comes down to it, like, it's an interesting movie. It's not an amazing movie.
It's worth a try.
It's not a terrible movie. It's an interesting movie, especially in light of recent events and as a role where Robin Williams is kind of playing, in a way, Robin Williams, or at least what we imagine Robin Williams to be.
Yeah.
Because who knows? I wonder if even Robin Williams knew who Robin Williams was.
Well, yeah, that's the thing.
But it seems redundant from a filmmaker who already has Wag the Dog in his catalog, you know? And it's certainly not as ambitious a comedy as Toys was, but it doesn't fall on its face quite the same spectacular fashion as Toys does. I would always be interested to check out the next film from this guy.
He does good stuff.
And sadly, we'll not see him work with Robin Williams ever again.
No, but imagine what he could do with another comedian trying to be an actor. I mean, he could do something interesting with Will Ferrell, for example.
But to me, it's almost like if Steven Spielberg announced that he was going to do a shark movie. Mm-hmm. It's like, you already made Jaws, dude. You are setting yourself up for a fall.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly.
Hey, it's Monday morning, and I'm Jack Lucas.
In the world of talk radio, Jack Lucas was king.
Look, I said I want an offer, they can forget it.
To stay on top, he did whatever he had to.
Forgive me!
But one day, Jack went too far.
It was Mr. Lucas's offhand remark that seemed to have fatal impact on Mr. Melnick.
No matter what I have, it feels like I have nothing.
Yo, what's going on?
And just when he was about to give up on his own life, he stumbled into Perry's.
Unhand that degenerate and remove your presence! I like New York in June. How about you?
Way back in the 1900s, in the early 1990s, as it were, I used to frequent the Paradise Theater.
Oh, I loved it. Yeah.
You could see 3 movies for $3.
Yes.
You go in at like 6 o'clock, you come out close to midnight, you get 3 full movies. Sometimes an R-rated movie would be there, and you'd be able to sneak in and be able to see it anyway. And for somebody who didn't have much of a social life and loved movies, this was where I spent a lot of my time because I'm a sad person. For some reason, The Fisher King hung around at the Paradise Theater. It was there for, I'm sure, over a month. And I ended up seeing it in theaters several times.
Well.
And as in the previous episode when we talked about Time Bandits, I've already admitted that I am a huge fan of Terry Gilliam. And being able to see this movie 4 or 5 times on the big screen,
wow.
I'm almost not rational about The Fisher King. I think that The Fisher King is fan-fucking-tastic. I really, really do. I think it's one of Robin Williams' best performances, and I think it's one of Jeff Bridges' best performances, and I think it is Amanda Plummer's best performance. And on top of that, you've got this delicious Terry Gilliam madness, which is what he deals in. His movies are all, on some level, a little bit crazy. Telling the story about 2 people who are broken. A radio disc jockey who's sort of a hothead John Gormley or
Howard
Stern type of figure who's just always pouring poison politics in people's ear and being as extreme and aggressive as possible. He gets his poison into the ear of a broken individual out in the world who goes to a nightclub and shoots the place up. Robin Williams is at said nightclub with his wife. His wife is brutally killed in front of him, and he ends up basically turning into a homeless vagabond, running around the streets, hallucinating, talking to himself, going on imaginary quests. Our disc jockey, the dude, manages by happenstance to bump into Perry, even before he understands the relationship they have with each other. And a strange relationship springs between them, which eventually ends up in a ludicrous quest to find a, quote, holy grail and repair both of their broken psyches. It is a fantasy. It is on some levels kind of ridiculous and crazily sentimentally romantic. But as I've said, I am 100% on board. Where do you land on The Fisher King?
The Fisher King,
I set the table like that.
Yeah, I am probably 200% on board. I had a different experience because I didn't see it in the movie theater. I saw it initially on VHS. I think the first time I saw it, I was too young to get it.
Right.
And I was like, what is going on? And this is one of the most celebrated movies of the year. But then it grew on me. I watched it several times, and I think that idea of watching it and it'd be amazing to see it on the big screen 4 or 5 times. 91, I think that was a year I really hardcore committed to being a movie nerd.
You were a movie guy.
I was. This is it. This is my lifelong pact. And there were several really, really good movies that year. I think The Fisher King should have been up for Best Picture. It was the year for several other films, but it was a very good year. I mean, this business they have now with the 5 to 10 nominees, in some years they don't deserve 3 nominees. That was a year where they could have had 10, and they would have all been.
Almost every movie that came into theaters could have been nominated for something.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, that year, Boys in the Hood, Thelma and Louise. There's a movie the other one that didn't get nominated that I think should have been in the top 5 is a movie called Grand Canyon.
Oh, yeah.
I love The Fisher King. I hadn't watched it in a few years, and when watching it this time, I thought, okay, now I have to look at it again and be a
little more critical.
Be a movie critic.
Fair enough.
And it is sentimental, as you said, but I think it earns every single moment of sentiment in there. Yeah. I mean, it's a film that really, really moves me the more I see it. And everybody is good in this movie.
Yeah. And
this is when I first kind of discovered Jeff Bridges. And Jeff Bridges, I think, when my initial viewings of it, I thought, okay, Robin Williams got a lot of attention for this, but what happened to Jeff Bridges? I mean, he should have been a candidate for Best Actor for this movie.
Perry's the most showy role.
It's the showy role gets the nomination.
Yeah.
But I don't think Williams' performance would have been as good if it wasn't for Jeff Bridges, and Williams acknowledged that.
Yeah.
But now watching it this time, I mean, there is, and knowing a little bit more about, human psychology, everything that Robin Williams does in this movie is spectacular. And this is a Robin Williams movie. We were talking about kind of the serious ones, which aren't Robin Williams, and the ones that are. This is, to me, a Robin Williams type of performance, but the best of that, where he does use his comedian and his improvisational qualities, which were like his mind. He thought of things faster than anybody else, and he used so much, but yet he also played the dark scenes so well, and he was the horror and the pain and the trauma of this character is heartbreaking, yet he's got so much life, and he wants the best, and then Bridges is so dark and so cynical, and it was just a perfect idea. I think it's Terry Gilliam's best film. You may disagree with me on that one. The other person you didn't mention in there is
Mercedes Ruehl.
She won the Academy Award for this. I thought her career might take off a little bit more than it did, but I was watching closely what she was doing. It's absolutely fabulous, everything that she does in that movie too. All the 4 leads are great, and I really have no criticisms of this movie. I think there's one shot where I saw a tiny editing mistake, continuity thing, but that's nothing. And
there was so much being balanced on this. Okay,
yes.
So you've got 2 romances. You got Amanda Plummer and Robin Williams, Mercedes Ruehl, and the dude, because Jeff Bridges is always.
He wasn't the dude at that point. He was a few years off from being the dude, but he'll always be the dude.
He's going to be the dude. Yeah. I fucking love him as the dude so much. So yeah, we've got that. We've got this back and forth between the 2 main characters, and that I think it's fascinating to me when does Robin Williams recognize who this man that he saved is? The first time he sees Bridges, he rescues him from a bunch of people who are just savagely beating up homeless people,
which was happening.
It was
all over and in New York. You know, that was.
And there's this moment, and I hadn't noticed it. And like I said, I've seen it a lot of times when Jeff Bridges looks and turns and sees him, and he looks at him, and I swear to God, it recognizes on Robin Williams' face. He sees who this is, he recognizes who it is, and then he forgets it.
Yeah,
we see it read on his face, like
it's no words, it's
nothing. Like, and not only does he continue to be this man's friend after that, even though he, holds him responsible for the death of his wife, like he engages. There's a scene that when I describe it, it would be like someone would say, well, I don't want to see this movie, it sounds ridiculous. Robin Williams encounters Amanda Plummer at a train station, and they face each other, and all of a sudden, all of the commuters, all of the chaos around them, everybody partners up, and it turns into this big waltz number. And describing it, it sounds like that's super cheesy and it shouldn't work. And you know what? It is super cheesy and it shouldn't work. But it's fucking gorgeous.
That scene impacted me so much in this viewing. And it was a very familiar scene to me. I mean, I've always thought of it, but this time I was like, this is just such beautiful filmmaking.
That's Perry's world. He makes an ugly world beautiful through his psychosis.
And I mean, I've lived in New York City. I love New York City.
Right.
And the way it's shot in this movie, even though it was a darker time in New York City, it just looks beautiful. Mm-hmm. And you see the world through this man's eyes now at this point. And it is so good. It is so good. I mean, I recommend it to everybody.
The artistic design in the movie. The Red Knight, I believe he's referred to, that we see in this. Again, I was a kid when I saw it, so it took me a while to unpack it. But it's this huge Red Knight on this huge horse, and he's got all these poles and stuff sort of shafting out from him in these impractical ways. And when I was a kid, I was like, why does he see that? Why is that his ultimate fear? It's brain spatter. That splash of red
that they show the shot,
when he gets hit in the face with his wife's brains, essentially, that coming at him and hitting him in the face, that moment is signified by this Red Knight, and it comes across visually. When you see what happened to him at the end of the movie and you come back and watch the movie again, the Red Knight is so much more terrifying. And doesn't matter that only Perry can see it. Doesn't matter that only Perry believes that this old rich fellow is hiding the Holy Grail in his tower. Even as Jeff Bridges climbs the tower to steal the thing, he's telling himself, this is stupid.
Yeah.
Why am I doing this? But he also knows on some level that if he gives Perry this token, he will achieve some measure of redemption, and that Perry will wake up. And he is correct. I mean, it's a fantasy. It's completely ludicrous. It shouldn't work. But it's the best movie on this list. I mean, it just is.
And Williams, that's to me where his performance works so well. Like, every time I have seen it is when he is playing off of the Red Knight, it's the best of Robin Williams. I think it's the best of Jeff Bridges. It's not a funny dude like performance from Bridges. It's a complete performance, and we've seen other Jeff Bridges. I'll watch in anything just because
he can do anything.
If he did Flubber 14 or something, he could show up and he would make it interesting.
He would bring something,
you know. He's in some ways. Then when I talk about this list being like, okay, which one's my list is according to Williams' performances, and I don't think the movie works as well if it was another actor in that role. Jeff Bridges is so important to me in this film, yet I wish they'd worked together again. Well, it might not have been quite as magical. Who knows?
But trying to repeat it. I also wanted to mention very briefly Michael Jeter. It seems anybody that gets touched by Perry's life sort of gets brought into the fold.
Yeah.
You know, if you have a nice exchange with Perry, you're one of the boys. And he sends this Michael Jeter character to give this musical telegram. And it's so lovely because he's singing this incredibly loud song, and it's like not particularly like well executed, but the character is so committed and so loving what he's doing that you just love the scene. And I honestly don't think any other director would have captured that moment quite as well. Like, that's a small moment. That's a really, in the whole scope of the film, it's really just almost a throwaway scene. It's sort of introducing you to the next sort of romantic chapter of where the movie's going. But it's hit so hard. When Perry has his final confrontation with the Red Knight, and we see that the Red Knights are these guys who are torturing homeless people, and that knife gets raped across his chest, what does he say?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's such a powerful moment. Like, again, name me another director that could have made this movie.
Yeah. No, not in this way.
There's not a living.
It would have been no, none. It wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have worked.
Spike
It would have
Jones,
to be
not
a
the
different.
Coen brothers, not any. I can't think of anybody who would have brought us this movie. And that's why I think the talent of Terry Gilliam is so singular, and why this marriage between him and Robin Williams. And you're right to mention Jeff Bridges, because it's true. He often gets sort of shoved over to the side.
It's a tough role. It's a very difficult role.
It's the showy one. I'm going to be talking about Monsters soon. And everybody was all big on Charlize Theron, and she was great in it.
Christina Ricci is
fan-fucking-tastic in that movie, and nobody mentions her.
As I get older, I start to appreciate there's always the person who is having to play off of the flashier character.
Yeah, and it's not always as easy to do.
No, and sometimes they get recognized, sometimes they don't. And in this case, I think Bridges, could have been given a bit more attention.
Anyway, I think we've made our point pretty clear.
Yep.
If you haven't seen The Fisher King, please
you need to see it. Yeah,
see The Fisher King. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
My name is Lance Clayton. I'm a writer, but so far nothing I've written has ever been published. Ernest Hemingway once said, all he wanted to do was write one true sentence. He also tried to scratch an itch in the back of his head with a shotgun.
Your poetry course, it's not very popular.
There's poetry, sir.
Does it bother you that I have male friends?
Not at all. Why don't we do something together tomorrow?
Yeah, like build a rocket?
Sure, if you want to.
That's retarded.
Yeah.
So once again, I'm going to talk about stand-up comedian turned independent filmmaker Bobcat Goldthwait. I've already covered a few of his films on the podcast, and I do think he's an interesting, kind of ballsy filmmaker. And this movie would never have gotten off the ground unless it was independently financed or you were able to talk Robin Williams into starring in it.
Mm-hmm.
I always drop a spoiler warning for the podcast. At the top of the podcast, I say, we're going to have spoilers, it's going to be coarse language. I'm just going to say now, if you haven't seen World's Greatest Dad and you're curious about it, just watch it before we talk about it, because all the campaigning around the movie did a real good job of hiding a major secret that happens in the first third of the movie, which I'm going to talk about right now.
Yeah, we have to.
Rob, you can't review the movie.
Can't,
you can't review the movie, and I'm just putting that especially there because I think it's more impactful if you don't see it coming. Robin Williams is a school teacher and kind of a sad sap dopey dude. He's in a relationship with another teacher at the school, but she doesn't want anyone to know they're in a relationship with it, and there's something pathetic about it. He's got a teenage son who is just terrible, just awful. He's clearly a child of divorce, but over and on top of that, he's just a miserable little shit. And Robin Williams kind of knows it and is like desperate as to what to do about it because he seems like he's this powerless man. He comes home one day to discover that his son has died from autoerotic asphyxiation. His son is dead, and it's obviously traumatic. Haha, hilarious movie so far, right? Well, instead of having his son remembered as this little asshole who died masturbating with a noose around his neck, he writes initially a suicide note, but ends up, writing diary entries and sort of expanding it and creating this other son that didn't exist to sort of give purpose and meaning to his son's death. And as it turns out, the death of his son is a huge windfall in his life. Everything, in quotation marks, gets better for him. Are we laughing yet? That's World's Greatest Dad. What did you think?
My favorite movie critic is Roger Ebert.
Okay.
And I think he updated this book every year, and he would talk about this thing called I hated this movie. So if I took over that job and wrote a book on
I hated your movie,
this would be on that list.
Wow.
I did not find anything funny about this movie. I had to struggle a little bit. I did find two characters with redeeming qualities. There's this poor kid who is unfortunately strapped with being the friend of Robin Williams' son, and he's consistently the voice of reason through this entire film.
He's the one person who sees through it. He's the one person who sees through it,
and he's the one character I could buy. It's just such an extreme how horrible the people are in this movie. And the other one is, to me, she was a little bit of a cartoon character, is Robin Williams' next door neighbor, this hoarder.
Right.
And so trying to find some good in this, I kind of like those characters, I guess. I did not like anything about this movie at all. I did not, I teach high school, and I'm also now a guidance counselor. And I've I've encountered some students that are difficult to deal with, but not to the level of Robin Williams' son. I mean, he is the most horrible character, and I know that he's supposed to be horrible, but then I look at his father. His father is absolutely horrible. I mean,
pathetic. I would say is closer to
except then, there's a little bit of a. I just can't think of somebody, because we're supposed to kind of like him. I think that's what the first part. He's so sad or whatever, but then he goes to
be sympathetic to him.
But then he
I
goes
don't know
to.
If that's the same thing as saying we have to like him, but we have to be sympathetic to him.
But there are three people who are supposedly educators in this film that are way like the worst person I've ever met or ever worked with in the school system is a million times better than the best of the three. And I'm not sure who I could say the best of. I guess Robin Williams' character is the best of the three just because I don't know why. But yeah, I think this belongs in the kind of the third act I was talking about, where he was taking on darker material, but I don't think that this was. I don't think this was worth it. No. And I know a lot of people like this film, and it has a bit of a cult following, as I understand it, but it's
a hard film to like. It's a hard film to like because of how fucking brutally dark it is. And I'm a person who likes dark comedies, but in a way I feel like it didn't pull the trigger on being a dark comedy as much as it. Like, you described that plot, and yeah, there's nothing funny about it. And I don't think I laughed out loud once watching the movie. I think that it's almost more of a dark satire. It's one of those things like Alexander Payne type of movies, like Election or About Schmidt, that you would.
But I like those.
You'd find them in the comedy section, but they're kind of more painful than they are funny. I kind of put this in that sort of same wheelhouse. I'm not saying it's as good as those other movies, but I'm saying it's in that wheelhouse. But I don't know if he's like a fan of this rock band that he has there. There's like, I think 3 different montages that are put in this movie where we see time going by and we see the changes that are happening in his life. And there's nothing more movie than a montage. I've said that before in this film. But juxtaposed with this sort of bouncy pop rock music that seems, that it might have been popular in the mid-90s, but like out of place where it is now, it's off tune with the rest of the movie. I would say, Goldthwait, if you want to make a movie this dark and you got Robin Williams, fucking go for it. Go for it.
Yeah.
Now, I think I like the movie more than you did, but I'm at war with the movie. Like, there's a give and take to it. I respect a movie with balls, and this movie has guts. The central character is pathetic and passive. His life is going on in spite of him. And he has this one thing in his life, which was his son, and that is taken away from him. And I understand the impulse to not want the world to think that your son died this humiliating death, right? I understand, even like in the psychosis of the moment, writing that note. But the longer that the subterfuge goes on, the more horrible you become, and the more awful the inevitable unspooling will become.
But faking your kid's suicide too. I mean,
it was a suicide. He killed himself. He
he
made
did.
It look like it was this poetic thing that happened instead of that he died. And as a result, the kids at school like him more. His girlfriend goes out in the open with the fact that they're together. People are bringing food to his house. People start taking him seriously and respecting him. And it's all built on this terrible lie. And it gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
But then he's going on to talk shows. I mean, it's ridiculous. But I now
the media circus around something like this. Like, I get it. That another dark comedy that could rub elbows with this. Heathers.
Yeah.
Objectively, especially as a school teacher, I could see you watching Heathers and just going, "Oh my fucking god!" The popular kids start killing themselves. Ergo, suicide becomes the popular thing. That's not quite the.
But that happens. And Heathers, I think, makes a point. Heathers, I think, is a superior film.
Absolutely.
To this.
Absolutely. But I think in what it's trying to say, in the way the media would treat people, in the way that somehow having your son commit suicide makes you a richer, nobler person somehow. I mean, these are not tough or easy subject matters to grapple with. I think what redeems it somewhat for me, and again, I'm sort of like Man on the Year. I can't say that it's a great movie, but I'm not with you that I think it's fucking awful, is this fairly powerful moment at the end of the movie where Robin Williams spills the beans and goes from being the community hero to the community pariah.
That worked for you.
Walks to the swimming pool, strips himself naked, and dives into this pool in this sort of baptismal moment.
With the pop music in the back.
Again, I really don't like that choice. I swear Goldthwait must be buddies with the guys in that band, because I'm pretty sure it was always the same band. But I think that he earned that moment. Nobody else thinks that he's redeemed, but he feels like he got himself out of this. And he goes back to the house with the neighbor who's hoarding and with the one genuine friend who genuinely knew his son and starts to live his life. And at the beginning of the movie, he wasn't living his life. I think there is a journey from this character, for this character. And I think that if you want it, the movie's asking some pretty tough questions. It's gutsy. I don't know who the audience for this movie is. Like, I honestly don't.
Well,
I wouldn't know how to sell it. I wouldn't say, hey, Mom, you want to watch a great Robin Williams movie?
Never.
Hilarious story. My friend Karen...
Well, some people would have. Right?
Yeah. My friend Karen, after Robin Williams died, she was on Facebook saying, I'm having a Robin Williams fest, and I want to watch these movies that I haven't seen. I'm starting tonight with World's Greatest Dad. And I was just like, oh my God, worst movie to watch to start off here. Robin Williams is good in the movie. It's a gutsy screenplay. The execution is wonky. I think you might not be giving the movie enough credit, but I also think I might be giving it too much.
Yeah, it's somewhere in between there. The other thing I want to say about, well, there's several things I want to say based on what you just said. But, when I go back to this with Ebert, when he said, I hate, these were always ambitious movies. So he gave it credit.
This movie, by the way.
Yeah.
He gave it 3 stars. I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah, he was still alive when it came out, right? Yeah. Yeah. I think I saw that. And we would have definitely differed on it. It's so funny that the scene that you think redeems it is the one that actually I think makes it so much worse for me.
Right.
It drove me nuts that I didn't think they earned that moment at all. And so I mentioned that there's some sentimental moments in The Fisher King, but it earns that right. In this, it doesn't earn anything. I think Williams' character should be jailed at the end. Perhaps he needed a lot of help, but he wasn't the only one that needed a lot of help. And also the entire approach to suicide at this school would not be taken by any school I've ever heard of. And
this might be one of those things, like I work in a cell block, so if I watch a movie set in a cell block, I'm going to be a lot more picky about shit like that.
Yeah.
Like that didn't really... I just sort of bent to the satire of the movie. They're making a statement about
it has to be extreme. And I like movies where they, like Election that you mentioned, where the whole school idea is kind of made fun of or used
it's a
for dark
of society,
satire. But this one, I just didn't feel like it was.
My question would be like, how would you end the movie? Is there, as far as you're concerned, there's no redemption for his character? He should just die and then roll credits? Like, I don't know. Some bit of hope at the end of the movie, then I would be on your page.
I would like to have seen him go to jail. I want to see him go to jail. I want the kid who's known that he was doing this all along, because he knew his friend and knew that this was not, he didn't write this stuff and that it was all a lie. I wanted that kid to sort of come out on top at the end of this film and just be him kind of walking off as the smartest person, which I think he is the smartest character in the film.
He is the sincerest character in the film.
Who's the smartest character?
Those 2 characters that you talk about, the hoarder and the former best friend of Robin Williams' son, are the 2 sincere characters in the movie.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's a bitter pill to swallow, but there's more truth to it than I think maybe you're comfortable with.
Also, the psychologist is absolutely terrible too. What was... He encouraged this...
Again, going back to Heather's. As a high school student, deciding whether or not to kill yourself is one of the more important decisions you'll ever make.
Yeah. I'm probably contradicting myself that I like some of these and I don't like this one. I don't think this is particularly well made either.
It's satirical, but not in a cartoony sort of obvious airplane kind of way, right? I think in Goldthwait's head, this is a playful movie, and I think maybe the reason that he was keeping it light with the music and the montage and the romantic bit is because the rest of it was so dark. That's why I say just dim the lights and serve us a fucking brutal dark comedy, because that's what this is.
Or he had Robin Williams, and everything Robin Williams, some people think, and we're going to be looking at some films where they or do a better job of this. He thought there had to be some sort of sentimental moment at the end if Robin Williams is the star of his film. Which I disagree with.
I think that the redemption or the attempt at redemption at the end would have been built into the screenplay. Obviously, I don't know Goldthwait personally. I think without that, the whole deck of cards falls anyway. But I'm saying, generally speaking, this is pitch black, and the tone is not. The story's pitch black, and the tone isn't. Yeah. And that discordance hurts the movie. Just be real that this is an absolutely brutally dark comedy. And let it be that. And I think that a lot of the bumps in the road would have smoothed out.
Now, if we're giving pair endings to dark comedies involving
high school
students, do you prefer this or do you prefer The End of Election?
I guess I would say I prefer The End of Election because it seems, well, again, both of those characters are irredeemable.
They don't change. They're
both irredeemable. I hate the Matthew Broderick character. I hate the Reese Witherspoon character.
Yes, they stay consistent.
But they're not trying to change, right? They're stuck on their path. The difference between those characters and Robin Williams' character is he wants to do better.
Well, I don't think he does.
Fair enough.
As a storyteller, I'll lay out the events exactly as I remember them.
Take this with you. We're publishing it next quarter.
I want you to believe this, after all. That'll be hard enough as it is.
You'll have real questions after you've read it. I've spent over 80 years speaking with him. He told me things that you couldn't imagine.
How old is he?
14.
He's a brave kid.
Hi, it's Pete Logan.
I was really impressed by your book.
Behind every life is a story.
I swear it's really you.
Why wouldn't it be me?
Hello, this is Donna Logan. I'm sorry to cut this short, but
he's a very sick boy. He doesn't have very long.
This must be very hard for you.
I'm worried about Pete.
Do you think it's possible they're being a little melodramatic here? It seems so over the top.
Why would someone do that?
I don't know. Money, maybe? To sell a book?
There's ways to prove this.
Behind this story, there's a secret.
The number you have reached is not in service.
there is no record of any Pete Logan.
You think there's some sort of hoax your way off base?
Why?
Because!
You could. Whoever he is.
One of the many things that I can respect Robin Williams for, and one of the things that I kind of resent the blowback against him for, because he was always accused of using the gay voice, and like I said, the sort of Bubba football player, black man voice. You know, he'd always do that would work into his routine. And it's broad strokes sort of comedy. I remember seeing one of the comic reliefs where he did a Sweat Into the Oldies parody.
Yes.
Where he got into these like ridiculously tight pants. Like you could see every inch of his penis in these tights. And he's dancing around and doing a Sweating to the Oldies. And the joke of the sketch is, look how crazy over the top gay everyone is. It was like a gayer version of Richard Simmons. And I can understand how, looking back on that now, it seems like they're making fun of gay people.
It was politically incorrect.
I don't think that he was making fun of gay people. I think what he was doing was trying to normalize gay people. Get people used to the idea that there are gay people in the world and that that's okay. So it's interesting. The reason I'm introducing The Night Listener, the character that he plays is based on a real radio storyteller
and
who
writer,
is a homosexual and writer, and who is a homosexual. And Robin Williams plays it, plays that part. But there's nothing flash about. In fact, it's not even super important to the story that he's homosexual. I like that he, throughout his career, like going way back to the 70s and 80s, I think that he was a friend to the gay and lesbian community. And I think it rubs me the wrong way that people accused him, especially in the last few years of his life, that he would play on these stereotypes of black people and homosexual people for cheap, easy laughs. I mean, maybe in 1986 it didn't read like a cheap, easy laugh, but it does now. The Night Listener is sort of one of those movies I would have liked to be talking about The Birdcage, actually, but I couldn't get my hands to that particular movie.
I love that movie, too.
It's another, it's very positive, it's normalizing homosexuality. Not that you feel it's weird that you feel the need to normalize it now, again, but the climate of the 70s and 80s are a little bit different than it is today, and we still have a long ways to go.
Yep.
I think that aspect, contrary to all of the other cool machinations of this screenplay, might be one of the more interesting things that I have to say about The Night Listener. Because although I think the movie is intriguing in its premise, and although I think it gives it a nice showy performance from Toni Collette, who's an actress I like, I think that it's a movie that is sort of like one of those stories that you'd hear on a podcast, which is a nice time filler when you're riding the bus to work or you're walking, listening somewhere. But I'm not sure that this story was a movie. I'm not sure that The Night Listener was a movie. In the end, I'm not sure what we learn or what we take from this experience. A radio show host starts a relationship with what he believes is a 13 or 14-year-old boy who's been adopted by a social worker and who has lived an incredibly brutal life. And he has a back and forth with him, writes letters, talks to him on the phone for months. And then all of a sudden, a friend of his, or his ex-boyfriend, hears a message left by the social worker on their phone and realizes that she sounds so much like the kid that it's kind of weird. Like that maybe they could even be the same person. And the Robin Williams character initially rejects this premise because he's been in this relationship with this kid for months. What a ridiculous thing to say, but the more he investigates and the more he starts this quest to actually meet this kid, which he's been helping and supporting, the more it seems that he is being taken for a ride. What do you think of The Night Listener?
So I mentioned Man of the Year I saw in the theaters, and then I watched it this time. I saw The Night Listener. Now, the thing I'll say that's probably not to its advantage is that I had kind of forgotten about this movie a little bit.
That's not high praise.
It's not high praise. Yet watching it this time, and then I went back to seeing it in theaters. It had the opposite effect where it actually I liked it even more this time. I liked it the first time enough to mild thumbs up type of thing. Here I like it even more because it's such a creepy story. I just found it really kind of horrifying, and there have been some documentaries about these fake identity types of stories, and there's a bit of a violation of trust when this happens, and to me that I found that very interesting. I suspect that this is a true story. I don't know because some of his stuff
that was told on his radio show.
Yeah,
but I don't know
how much he made up or not. Yeah. But he put some. Yeah, and I just as the mystery unfolds, I think it's really, really kind of in a real world context horrifying. It's not a horror story or. But it's a drama, but I think there are some thrilling elements, and Colette's performance is very, very creepy. It is a very creepy performance, and as I don't know, because we can start to talk about what happens after he actually goes to the town where this boy is supposed to be, because he is just hell bent on believing that this boy exists, because it's had such an impact on him.
I like that track that he's going into it not trying to prove her wrong, but to prove himself right. There's no way that she would be making this big elaborate lie. For me, it becomes clear, because obviously we're watching a movie, that she is lying to him. For me, it seems completely obvious early on that she's lying to him. That reveal isn't going to be a big payoff, right? And I think the movie knows that, so it tries to give us other payoffs. But these other payoffs aren't as fruitful, I don't think.
But her, just the way that she is playing
the entire community
and the whole community, not just her, but the entire community.
Everybody in the community all knows the sweet blind lady, and you know, have heard stories about the boy that she looks after, and you know, that she has a terrible past. Like it gets into like that sort of 80s paranoia about like satanic cults in the woods doing terrible shit, and that was really, I don't know, strangely popularized in the late 80s and then sort of disappeared. It turns out that like a lot of that stuff was just air. But she played on that sort of paranoia. So much so that when he starts nosing around the neighborhood asking questions, he gets brutally tasered by a local police officer because they assume he's one of these evil fucking pedophiles.
Yes.
So like that stuff works and is interesting. But when we find out like it would have been enough that Toni Collette character was such a crazy master manipulator that not only did she have like was she able to manipulate Robin Williams, but this entire community. But the payoff that when she moves to the next community to start up her new thing, she's not even blind. That was basically the big twist. She was lying about being blind. Well, she was
which
lying,
there were hints throughout. I mean,
she was lying about everything.
Yeah.
Nothing that came out of her mouth was true, right? So this reveal that her lying it just sort of seemed silly, and the extent that she would have gone to keep this ruse up. She keeps her house messy and dark, and when she talks to Robin Williams, when her eyes are out of focus, you know, like
the eyes are so, you know,
blind, right?
Yeah.
And it's made credible because you have a performer as talented as Toni Collette playing it, but. I don't know.
Is this like similar to the Laura Linney conversation you're thinking that maybe
No,
I've been...
I don't think it needs to be funny. In fact, I think it needs to be the opposite.
Well, no, that I've just been taken in by the choices of a very good
I think she's
actor.
a very good actress. I think the problem is not the performance. It's sort of, in a way, the screenplay. None of the riddles are solved in this movie, really. Like, we know right away she's lying. We never know why.
I like that. It's more horrifying to me to know that this person or people like it are out there, because in real life we don't find out the motivation for everything. We don't have a big speech where I did it because of this, and you know, kind of it just sits there and it's enough to haunt this guy for the rest of his life about how easily he was taken in, how he was conned,
and for no reason. She didn't make money off of it.
Well, she wanted to meet him, I think, was the idea, and for whatever reason, she wanted attention of a radio personality. But
and by telling her story, then is he not just giving her what she wanted?
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know. Like, it's tough for me. For me, it's little quiet scenes, little throwaway scenes that don't have to do with the main thrust of the action. There's a scene where, in the middle of this storm, he's been dumped by his boyfriend. The boyfriend says it's just for a little while, but it's clear that it's not just for a little while. And he's dealing with this mystery in the same time. And he's having smoking a joint with Sandra Oh in his living room and just talking about, what is this? What is happening? What is happening to me? And like, I think we've all been to the point where we sit down with our friend and we say like, all of this shit is hitting me and I just don't know what to do about it. And I could relate so completely with him, you know, confiding in this person and just being in this bad place. And the performance is absolutely rich. But the fact that I had no payoff.
So you were looking for a payoff there,
I guess,
and I wasn't, and I liked each and every one of those scenes. I liked when he goes to that party, where his ex-boyfriend is, and then they have that conversation. And why did you do this? But it's not. I didn't see anything that was Hollywood about this, and this was a deadpan serious performance from Robin Williams.
No jokes.
There was no winking at the camera, none of that. And even in some of the better ones we're talking about tonight, that exists. Yeah. And in some ways, I think it weakens the impact of the performance. There was none of that. My favorite Robin Williams performance, it's not this, but it was Awakenings.
Right.
There was no trace of Robin Williams in that performance. No. And in fact, he wasn't in the showy role. Robert De Niro was in the showier role. So he was the guy reacting off of that, and this was, to me, more he was serving the character and serving the film,
right.
Which didn't always happen. In some cases, he had no screenplay to work with, and I think directors were just, we have Robin Williams in our movie, let him do whatever he wants. And he actually needs direction. Like
they had the
a lot of
opportunity
actors.
to do it too. There was a kind of amusing scene when he still thinks he's writing letters to this 13-year-old boy, and he's like, I get totally like horny, but if this chick is watching me all the time, and like I'm a boy, I got needs. So he decides he's going to buy the kid some nudie magazines. And there's a scene where he goes to the stand where it's in his neighborhood, so the girl would know him, knows who he is, knows that he's gay, and he has to buy these porno rags or whatever.
Yeah.
They had every opportunity to make that into this whole sort of shticky scene, right?
Yeah.
And the movie's barely 80 minutes long.
It's short. It is short.
They really could have done it, but it was the right choice not to, because it's not that movie. Like, I understand what they were going for, but I think that this works better as a story that you hear on the radio and leaves you thinking. I don't know that there was enough here for a movie. I think the fact that they got Robin Williams and Toni Collette got them real fucking close. But maybe this was a short, or maybe this was just what it was meant to be on the radio. I take issue with the fact that he even tells this girl's story in a lot of ways. If I take all of this as absolutely 100% true, and that this Toni Collette is this psychotic, compulsive liar who just, needs to put herself into people's life based on fact or fiction. I mean, she's ill. She needs help. She doesn't need, she doesn't need her reality reinforced, or doesn't need to be made famous or infamous as a result of it. She needs help at best. And I don't know. I like the movie. I want to like it more.
What was interesting to me, though, is I think telling the story is more about him. That he is so
journey.
Traumatized by, maybe traumatized is an exaggeration, but he's so stuck with this. I was fooled. For my own good, I need to let this out, and I need to write about it, and I need to express it so that I can. He can find some closure, because none of us have closure when it comes to this story. So kind of, I think I was feeling what he was feeling.
He says he's a storyteller, and he mines his life and his friend's life for stories, and that was part of the issue with his boyfriend. And he is given this nugget of this 13-year-old kid who was basically raised in sexual abuse and, according to the story, dying of AIDS or some disease.
Because
so
he's been used.
That's too juicy a story for him not to want to believe. And maybe that's the hurt, that he wanted to believe that story. It's an interesting movie. Again, it's sort of in the middle ground for me.
It surprised me how highly I regard this little film now, and
I find the conversation we're having right now more interesting than the movie. But
maybe it was just the experience. It just really it kind of bothered me, actually, in the best possible ways.
The stories are true. He's come back to seek his revenge. Only you can save your children. You must make yourself remember.
Remember what?
Peter, don't you know who you are?
Have to fly. Have to fight. Have to crow. Have to save Maggie. Have to save Jack. Okay, he's back.
So Hook was one of the movies that I actually purchased to fill out my 6 Robin Williams movies. It was fairly affordable.
It's not bad,
I hadn't seen it since it was in the theaters, and when I saw it in theaters, I was pretty close to the right age category for it. I was in my early teens, but I'm not against seeing a big spectacle. It's basically a grown-up version of Peter Pan, as brought to us by Steven Spielberg. Some would argue the greatest living director, certainly a very fine director. And when it came out, it underperformed in the box office quite dramatically, but even more surprisingly, it got just brutalized by the critics. Upon watching it again this many years later, I don't think that the critics needed to be as brutal as they were with Hook, but it certainly isn't great. And coming from a filmmaker who is usually as on point as Spielberg, especially when it comes to entertainments, right? He does his sort of serious historical work, and then he does his popcorn entertainments. He can give us Jurassic Park, and he can give us Munich, and they're both fucking awesome, right? This one, I don't know if it stays 100% afloat for me. But there's stuff in it that keeps me interested while I'm watching it. Like, there's people in the movie that I didn't realize was in the movie. Did you remember Gwyneth Paltrow was in this movie?
Yep, I did.
I'd forgotten that Gwyneth Paltrow was in the movie. And then, hey, look, Gwyneth Paltrow. You know?
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, when this movie came out, it seemed like everything was backwards about it. The people didn't like it. The box office didn't receive. The critics didn't like it. Even Julia Roberts, who could do no wrong at this time, her performance was slammed, and apparently on set she was incredibly difficult. She played Tinkerbell, so she was filmed separate from everyone else, and it was a large special effects work for her, and she was basically lonely in a blue room and was kind of a bitch, apparently. Spielberg has said he wouldn't work with her again. So,
and they haven't.
And she's a huge star that brings...
And she's grown up since then, I think. But
so, and you know, I think Spielberg's got this side to him that if you chafe him, he will
never again.
Yeah, you're out. You are out. You can be in the in group with Spielberg, or you can be on the outs. Once you're on the outs, you're not getting any work with him.
Yeah.
And he produces a lot of fucking movies.
Yeah, he does.
So I think it'll be interesting, you know, someday they'll write a biography on Steven Spielberg, because he always presents himself with such shine and smile, and I think that there's a little bit of Kubrick in him. I think there's a little bit of difficult artist in him.
There is one that just came out, and it takes more the angle of him as a Jewish filmmaker. I haven't read it yet. I saw a little blurb on it, and I was like, this would be a very interesting, at this stage, because he's still alive. He still has probably lots of films in him to read about.
Honestly, though, at the end, it's everything around the movie is almost more interesting to talk about than the movie itself. Dustin Hoffman had sort of faded away in
a little bit, yeah,
in Hollywood as far as his esteem, even though he's an amazing and again volatile actor. Gives a very committed performance as Captain Hook. In fact, I think he gives the performance of the movie. I get a lot of sort of a joy out of him and Bob Hoskins and just sort of the pirate banter. Never Neverland does not work for me. The Lost Boys, the kids, the big colorful paint schemes actually kind of reminded me of another Robin Williams movie, What Dreams May Come.
Oh, yes.
Where he goes to heaven and the whole world turns into a canvas of paint. I don't know. I guess we should say the plot. Sorry. Robin Williams is Peter Pan. Yeah. He has grown up. He takes his kids to visit the family in England, and on the night when they're visiting, Captain Hook shows up to confront Peter Pan, doesn't find Peter Pan, instead finds the kids, steals the kids, takes them to Neverland. Robin Williams has to deal with the fact that A, he's Peter Pan, he had no memory of this, no knowledge of this, and B, he has to go rescue his kids. At the risk of being a pithy, funny movie critic, I don't think it all quite stays afloat.
Nice.
Where do you land?
I think we're pretty similar. I felt like I was the right age to see this movie when I saw it in theaters. One of the things with this one, I'm pulling back and going, okay, am I right now the target audience for this movie? I'm not. I think if I played it for some kids, they would enjoy it. Yet there are some weird things in this film too that don't quite compute for being a family movie. But I still think it was a family movie. They had a few family movies that came out. This was 91 as well, which I seem to worship for whatever reason that year. Addams Family came out, and Father of the Bride and Hook, all kind of in the same month, November to December time frame in there. And then Williams, of course, had the release of The Fisher King and Hook around the same time, two completely different films. It's a very weird Spielberg film. It's almost like at some point he lost control over it. It's a 2.5-hour movie, by the way. I should also mention that, which is now when they make family movies, 65, 70 minutes because of attention spans. I would be interested to show it to maybe older kids now. I think...
I will say my kids are 8 and... sorry, I don't know how old my kids are. My kids are 9 and 12. And Owen made it longer than his brother. He made it almost an hour into the movie. But Tristan was out of it within 15, 20 minutes. He just wasn't engaged to it.
And there's a lot of setup.
Yeah.
There's a lot of setup. Now, as an adult, I actually found the first act of the film I kind of liked. Some things I didn't like. Some things I thought were
the cell phone
very
drawings
cartoonish
and
and very cartoonish, but the design of it, I don't know why I'd forgotten that Maggie Smith was in this.
Oh, yeah.
But as soon as Maggie Smith showed up, I was like, oh, I'm going to breathe now for a little while because she's very good. She's the older Wendy.
And what the tragic figure of the movie.
Yes, yes.
As far as I'm concerned.
Yes. Well, and then I kind of like, at first I was like, oh, this is absolutely insane. There's of course, the guy looking for his marbles.
Yep.
Which tends to be a big payoff towards the end. But I liked a lot of it. And this is one where I did like Robin Williams. I think the whole thing was within his wheelhouse. When he realizes he's Peter Pan and embraces that later on, that's his more traditional film persona comes out. But I also think playing the father, he played a lot of dads in his career. He does a good job of being a dad, but also at points a dysfunctional father. Yeah.
He's a provider more than a supporter.
But he has a lot of screen time. Dustin Hoffman, the movie's called Hook.
Yeah.
Dustin Hoffman does not have a lot of screen time, but I think he was kind of considered the lead for the film, and he uses every single moment. And so Dustin Hoffman elevates this film. Bob Hoskins as well is a lot of fun, but Dustin Hoffman in particular. Yet there are some points in there where I'm like, okay, is this for kids? Because, Captain Hook is suicidal.
He's mad.
He actually is about to commit suicide in a scene in this movie, and it's sort of a comedic scene. But I was like, is this funny? But then the Lost Boys thing is a disaster.
Yeah, it
everything
really
about that is just bottom basement. And I watched the sequence where they're running around doing something and torturing Robin Williams or something at the beginning because he doesn't realize that he's Peter Pan. And I'm like, this is a Steven Spielberg film. It looks like something, some sort of screwball comedy or...
The sets look like sets. They look like they were shot in Fantasyland.
He got a nomination for art direction, if you can believe that.
in Fantasyland at West Edmonton Mall, to me. Like the kids were having a great old time.
Well, let's not put down the West Edmonton Mall decor.
But it didn't look like...
It's better than this.
But it didn't look like a tropical island. It looked like a set. Right? I'm not wrong.
Yeah. No. There's...
And... I just don't understand. Like, that seemed to be the thing that, if anything, I would expect Spielberg to fucking nail. The guy who brought us E.T., he's usually so good at casting kids in his movies and at treating the kid stuff. I remember watching a documentary on Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and he said that, in his mind, children are way braver than we give them credit.
Yep.
People see a mysterious light in the shed, and they run away, except for little kid. Little kid will go investigate.
Yep.
Or on some level, they will trust the light. Grown-ups don't trust the light. The same thing I was talking about Time Bandits. Like, you say, what can a kid handle? What's too scary for a kid? The idea of Captain Hook killing himself, is that too scary? That scene where they see that scarred wall where Hook has dragged his hook up the wall to the kids' room and the kids have been stolen. A lot of people say that's too scary for kids. I would say I don't think that's the stuff that's too scary for kids.
I don't even remember it as a kid, and I was pretty sensitive. I would,
kids have thicker skins than we give them credit for. I wish that Hook was more like one of these movies that I talk about where it's sort of like the Death of Innocence movie, because that's really the core of Peter Pan, right? Letting go of your childhood. And if you had the idea that you could stay a child forever, wouldn't that be great? Well, no, not really, right? And that's what Steven Spielberg misses in Never Neverland. The idea of these kids, I think they should be filthy. They should, like, in the animated cartoon, they play it as cowboys and Indians. And it's unfortunately less than,
of the time.
Politically correct. Yeah. My son Owen loves the animated version, and I had to be really careful. Like, it's a very charming movie, but you can't sing What Makes the Red Man Red when you're at school because...
Well, you have to talk about... I mean, it's not like, do not watch this, it's bad. You talk about those things.
I figure they're right to jettison that sort of aspect of it, because in the original play, the idea is that the they're wild children, and the analogy to wild children is Native Americans, right? That is righteously jettisoned, and I get that. But what should have stayed is the fact that, yeah, they're kids, they're running around, they're having fun, they're playing, they're hunting, they're completely free, but they're lonely. And they have no focus, they have no authority figure. And sooner or later, that comes to a head. Sooner or later, they're laying in their hammocks at night, and they're wondering if there isn't more to the world. And that scene never happens. The kids are just always happy and charming and rambunctious.
That's too winking at the camera. They're just cute. See, it's the worst of child acting.
And it is discordant, and against the original play, against the original whole idea of Peter Pan. The idea of being young forever is a romantic one. But like anything that lasts forever, it eventually becomes hell. None of that is in Hook. None of that is in Hook. It's all about a father redeeming himself to his children.
You see, I think everything should have worked here. Like, Spielberg is somebody who understands children and understands childhood and that growing up and making magic with his films. I think it should have worked. Robin Williams is the perfect guy to play an adult version of Peter Pan. Hoffman was the one who stretched himself the most. Like, what would you have seen before this that led you to believe that Dustin Hoffman could play Captain Hook? And he is by far the most competent person. Julia Roberts, her performance is totally off, and I don't know. I could tell because she was out of sync. I don't know if it was an editing problem, but she was totally out of sync with the scenes with everybody else because she's not actually there and she's not reacting.
Part of it was the technical challenge. I think that she's an actress who just needs another body there with her. Fair enough. And I think, honestly, part of it is that she might have pissed Spielberg off. I mean, once you get that deep into a movie, I think you probably know where the problems are, right? And he doesn't want to spend all the time editing the Julia Roberts scenes because he's pissed off at Julia Roberts.
It must have been a frustrating... Now, the other thing
he himself has admitted that he's very disappointed with this film.
Oh, I'm sure. He has to be honest about it. But the other thing, you mentioned some of his greatest films in there, right? We have to also recognize that this was before Jurassic Park and Schindler's List, and he went through a downturn. Like every filmmaker goes through a downturn. Between what I'd say is, and you can feel free to disagree with me on this one, between The Color Purple and Jurassic Park, I think the only film that really worked for its purpose was the third Indiana Jones film. I think he was coming.
To watch Always
I think
again,
he was like Always. I like, but it was
lesser Spielberg.
Lesser Spielberg. I think that was him moving towards being a more serious filmmaker. I don't think it did very well box office wise or anything. So he was not Spielberg. The 70s and 80s, early 80s, early to mid 80s stuff. He was Spielberg, and this was kind of the loop in between. When he became...
Once Jurassic Park and Schindler's List happened back to back, everyone's like, okay, you are the greatest.
Now he's,
Well, I mean...
I disagree that he's the greatest filmmaker, but I mean, that's...
The perception.
But I mean, I would take the number of good movies and great movies he's made. I mean, I'm more on the Munich side of things, and I like him doing movies like that. But
sure, he made Hook, and sure, it's disappointing. But you know what? He made Jaws. He made Raiders of the Lost Ark. He made Close Encounters. He made Jurassic Park. All is forgiven.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think I would have revisited Hook if not for this episode.
They're doing this, yeah.
And I'm not excited about it. Spielberg's an interesting filmmaker, and if you're someone who's just going to follow his career, it's sort of an interesting chapter. But I don't think it works for the kids. I don't think it works 100% for adults. I don't add it to the collection of films that make me, heart sick for my lost youth. And that's what this movie should have been. Like, I think the essential thrust of the story was jettisoned.
Like, I think my brother, my sister, and I liked it quite a bit. We were, children moving into, starting to move into adolescence. Actually, my brother was quite a bit younger, but children of early 90s. Children of early 90s are very different than children of 2017. And so I think it's one of these ones where I don't think it's all bad. I just think it's so strange that it didn't work better. And it's just that those expectations that we have for the people that are involved with this film, and that it
interestingly analogous to the Disney version too, in that it is superficially charming, but there's some real problems. There's some real problems.
Let me ask you a question. Do you have a photographic memory?
I don't know, I just kind of remember.
Meet Will Hunting. In South Boston, he's already a legend.
Assault, mayhem, theft, resisting, all overturned. But when you hit an officer, you go in.
I've spoken to the judge, and he's agreed to release you.
Really?
You have to meet with me and a therapist every week.
This boy's genius is unparalleled. I've never seen anything like it.
Now,
I need someone who can get through to him.
Like me.
for the first time in his life,
It's a poker game with this kid. Any vulnerability he senses, he'll exploit.
Will Hunting is about to meet his match.
Did you paint that?
Yeah, I painted it.
Very interesting. Well, maybe you're in the middle of a storm. You know, the waves are crashing over your tiny little boat there, and maybe you did what you had to do to get out. Maybe you became a psychologist.
You got me.
And maybe you married the wrong woman.
Maybe you should watch your mouth.
So, Good Will Hunting was sort of the welcome to Hollywood for Matt Damon and Ben Affleck.
Mm-hmm.
They'd been around. They'd both done some small work with Kevin Smith.
Yep.
And things like that. It's a charming movie. I'm going to be of the unpopular position that although it is a charming movie, it might be one of the most overrated movies of the 90s. Not a bad movie. Again, like, I am amazed that it won for Best Original Screenplay. To be honest, for a couple of reasons. A, I think that some of the stuff is emotionally hit pretty fucking hard. Kind of like a play that you would write in your 20s, which is exactly what this was. And partly because a lot of it was made up on the spot. There's a lot of scenes in this movie that were just improvised.
Yep.
And they admitted that. So, like, everybody saw Good Will Hunting, everybody liked Good Will Hunting, everyone's like, hey, welcome to Hollywood, guys. We're going to see good things from you. But I don't quite understand giving them an Academy Award for it. I 100% them giving Robin Williams an Academy Award for it. Although I would qualify it as one of these classic Oscars he's due awards. Sort of like Russell Crowe wins for Gladiator when he should have won for The Insider.
You see,
right?
Bringing that up, you might as well just punch me in the face because that would be so much more comforting than having to think about that again.
Robin Williams should have won for The Fisher King. Instead, he wins for Good Will Hunting. Right?
That was a tough year, though. I mean, that list...
So it sounds like I'm being really shitty and hard on Good Will Hunting. And like, the thing is that it's a completely serviceable romantic comedy. It's charming. Matt Damon gives an interesting central performance. This character kind of reminded me of the character, this is a strange pull, that Anthony Hopkins played in the movie The Edge.
Okay.
In that he is incredibly intelligent, and he can remember almost anything that he reads, but he doesn't seem to have much of an inner life. He can... Robin Williams calls him on it in one of their sessions. You know, there's nothing about you that I can't learn from reading a book. They're like, is there a person here? You're super intelligent, you have this incredible gift, and you're not using it. And that's basically all we got. The Ben Affleck, the best friend character, is this guy who's a working class schlub, who's 100% okay with being a working class schlub. Which is to say, he's a property that exists almost exclusively in the movies.
I'm not sure he's happy, though. We aren't at the discussion point yet, but I have a different take on that character.
He has a speech later in the movie where he says, like, you know what, I'm going to be shucking bricks until I'm 50, and that's going to be tomorrow. And you know what, that's fine. I honestly don't think most people are that, in their, okay with where they are. I think everybody has this imagining of where they're going to be 10 years from now that's maybe a little bit unrealistic, right? And maybe you get to that point and maybe you don't. But you're always looking forward and looking up. And this is a guy who's like, this is my job, this is my life. I have been 100% defined and I'm not even 30. And there's something, I think, simplistic about that. But as a romantic comedy, it 100% works. It's got some really good laughs in it. And yes, there is a solid, completely stoic, relatively, I mean, there's some charm to it, but there's no goofiness to it, Robin Williams' performance. I'll put the ball in your court. Again, I'm sounding a lot more negative than I mean to, but it's a movie that everyone seems to like more than I do, although I do like it.
Yeah. And at the end of this year, it will be 20 years old.
Wow,
which seems, because I remember going to see it, and I it was one of those things that it was probably at Center Cinemas I saw it, and which still exists miraculously. And speaking of the Paradise, but earlier, which I love that place. That place was heaven for me. But
a moment of silence for the Paradise Theater.
But yeah, where was I going with that? Yeah, it's interesting when the film came out, it was almost viewed as underrated because that was the year of Titanic, and the film that was viewed as the runner-up to Best Picture that year was L.A. Confidential, which is a fabulous film. In the 20 years, in 20 years, I'm on the unpopular belief. I really like Titanic. You know,
nobody's perfect.
No, I'm not perfect. I get the criticisms of the Titanic, and for sure, but it's interesting to me that now when you look at all of the publications about movies that should have won Best Picture, the travesties of the Academy over the years, that Titanic shouldn't have won. It should have been Good Will Hunting.
Really?
There are people right now, it seems like this movie upped its game with a legacy. L.A. Confidential almost seems forgotten about. And some years I just don't understand it. There are films that I think, and then there's another movie that year which I loved as far as romantic comedies, As Good as It Gets. I think is as good as it gets in that particular genre. To me, that would have been probably a third place. I think I actually at the time liked it more than I liked L.A. Confidential, if you can believe that. But I wouldn't have put Good Will Hunting on my top 10 list. Yeah. The funny thing is, of the movies we've talked about, this is the one I've seen the most.
Yeah.
But it's, again, I've put it away for a few years and coming in and seeing this. And it was funny that the scenes that worked for me this time, and it was, oddly enough, it was the Matt Damon Minnie Driver scenes. And it's the breakup scene that really impacted me this time when he's showing on his chest the scars from the beatings that he received, and then she's in tears and he's screaming. She's saying, "I love you," and he's don't say that, and this kind of showiness but he's just getting more and more angry. That worked really well. I know the scenes that I'm supposed to be like about, and this time around I was not as enthralled with, to me, the showier moments in Robin Williams' performance. I did not actually want him to win the Academy Award for this movie. There was somebody who wasn't nominated that year that was kind of the person I was cheering for, but I actually, the story was it was between him and Burt Reynolds for Boogie Nights. I would have given it to Burt Reynolds for Boogie Nights. I thought there were a lot more nuances in that performance, and it was more subtle. There were points in here, even though Robin Williams has a very good Southie Boston accent, and he does some serious. There's some serious notes that he has to play in here, but I think it was like suddenly people kept forgetting that he could play serious, and this was this gathering of the story about these young guys making this film, getting Robin Williams in it. It's like, oh yeah, he can play serious roles, and this is such a serious role, and this is nothing like him. I saw Robin Williams creep out at various points throughout this, particularly this discussion about
his wife farting in bed.
That scene is totally, that was all Robin Williams. And then the other one was when there was this discussion that they're having, and Matt Damon's kind of making fun of him and saying, "I want to be a shepherd," and there's this back and forth, and it's just it felt like one of Williams' comedy routines in there. They're few and far between. I think it's a good performance. It was a nomination-worthy performance. I don't think it was his best performance. I think there's a lot more. It's a lot more in The Fisher King, and then I go back to again Awakenings, even 1 Hour Photo, maybe even in Insomnia. the ones where he just plays the character. He lets the celebrity, the Robin Williams, just no.
Well, two things I would say to that.
I mean,
two things I would say to that. I think he got hired because he was Robin Williams and because they were going to do some improv, and then they knew that he could do some improv. I think that that was part of the gig, that he was getting the job. But it surprises me that you're a little more distant from the performance, because I see a lot of awakenings in this performance. A lot of awakenings. He's not as introverted as the character in Awakenings, but a lot of what we get, a lot of the acting that we get, is big, bearded, cuddly Robin Williams sitting in the chair looking at Matt Damon. And you can see the gears turning in his head. You can see him thinking, how can I help this kid? How can I reach this kid? Because it's not just, about telling the kid that these are his problems and these are the steps that he needs to take. He has to get through a wall of shit before the kid's even going to start to listen to him.
Which is more realistic. I mean,
which is more realistic, and I like those scenes. That said, as much as I say I like those scenes with Robin Williams and Matt Damon are some of my favorite stuff in there. Arguably, the emotional climax of the movie, in my drama department days, became kind of a punchline. If I'm rehearsing in a studio with a cast, sometimes I'd be in the North Studio rehearsing way late in the night and everyone's getting frail. I'll look down at one of my cast members and I'll say, Jason, it's not your fault. Don't do that.
Don't do that to me. Don't do it.
It's not your fault.
Don't you blame me like that.
Not you, right? Well,
not you. It's anybody but you.
Anybody but you. Do not drop this truth bomb on me right now. It's kind of funny, right? And it's the emotional climax of the movie, and I think that there's something parodiable about it. There's something that, it doesn't mean that the movie doesn't work. I mean, a lot of the best movies are fun to make fun of. You can lampoon Psycho, you can make fun of Jaws, you can make fun of, it's fine. But this is an absolutely serviceable romantic comedy date movie. It's just not.
I never have thought of it as a comedy in any way. I mean,
it's a date movie. I honestly do. I mean,
I could see it as a date movie, and I mean, I was working in movie theaters when it was, and a lot of couples went to it. I mean, I get that, but
I was made uncomfortable by the recognition that my mother had an inner life that included recognizing sexuality in people. Because I saw this movie in theaters with my mom, strangely enough, and when we came out of the theater, she said, "Oh, that Matt Damon is so handsome," and I was like, "Jesus, Mom, shut up."
I got that from a lot of a lot of women, not teenagers and 20-somethings, but as they were coming out, they were. They were quite taken by him.
Pretty. I think it's a good script, not an amazing script. I think there's solid performances throughout. I think that it's an I'm due award from Robin Williams, but I sure wouldn't snatch it out of his hands.
He can't. He can't.
It's
I mean,
a weird
it's
position
fine
to be in. And it's saying, like, I like this movie, it's totally good, but it's nowhere near as good as its reputation.
I thought he... In some ways, in the politics of the Academy, he won because he's a nicer person than Burt Reynolds.
Yeah, maybe.
Burt Reynolds, and then he went back to doing all this terrible stuff after Boogie Nights was
a whole other discussion.
The role of his career, and he didn't seem to fully appreciate that. And so I'm making it sound like I'm really mixed on Good Will Hunting. I actually, as the years have gone on, and I like it more and more. There was a movie, Kevin Smith movie, that came out in the same calendar year, Chasing Amy, that I liked more than Good Will Hunting. And I thought
movie's tonally all over the place.
It's a big, but at that time I kept thinking, well, I actually think the writing's better in Chasing Amy, and I almost think the direction of Good Will Hunting was almost too subtle.
I kind of miss this. Sort of was this sort of the thing that made Matt Damon and Ben Affleck sort of the serious players in Hollywood. And in a way, I missed the days when Ben Affleck was the asshole jock in Dazed and Confused or Mallrats, and Matt Damon had fun sort of light roles like in Dogma. The thing is like it was a gateway drug to a lot of other things. It's an interesting 90s artifact, and it's solid. I just can't get excited about it. Jason Dubray, what was your least favorite of these 6
Well, I
movies
think you
so
could
far?
probably guess. Because when you were saying, oh, well, if you're interested, check out World's Greatest Dad, I would say don't.
No, don't do it.
I mean, sometimes if I disagree with somebody on a movie, I'll go back to it again. And, well, maybe it was just the mood I was in or the situation or whatever.
That's the great thing about the podcast. I've revisited movies and liked them more and less than I'd remembered.
And that's what happened with I had different reactions. I'm not sure, again, I mentioned 20 years ago or whatever, 10 years ago, that the list I have would have been in the order that's in today. But World's Greatest Dad, I have no time for it. I just hate it. I think it had ambitious goals, and I will agree with you in that way, but I just don't think it succeeds in any way, shape, or form.
Okay, fair enough.
Then for me, number 5 is Man of the Year, which was a real downside. When going into this, I thought, okay, well, it'll probably be somewhere in the middle, but it just I spotted a lot more problems with it after giving it a bit of time here, and I guess it's not good to demand a different type of movie from it than it is, but I think it introduced this really interesting, maybe even like 1970s paranoid political thriller with Laura Linney as the star, and I wanted to see that movie
more than the movie
and
watched. Yeah.
As a bunch of guys standing around improvising, trying to create some comedy gold from something that I just didn't think was there. And I really like Barry Levinson. Well, I like him, but it'd be 5th for me. Number 4 is Hook. I don't think it's all awful. It is something to see if you are a Spielberg fan, just to see, that even those who have a high batting average with the films that they release can have a poor one here or there. And I think some kids might like parts of it.
Yeah.
And Dustin Hoffman's performance elevates it from being at the very bottom of this list. Then I'd go number 3, The Night Listener, which was a real surprise. It's not a memorable film, I guess. The fact that I had seen it and I forgot that I had seen it. This time it had more impact. I guess I kind of watched it at midnight, and maybe that's a better time to watch it because it's kind of, to me, if it was real and it's kind of creepy, and I do like things where it's kind of we're left in the dark about what actually happened and what's the motivation. I'm kind of sick of the villain having a big monologue at the end of a movie and saying this is why I did everything I did just before that person gets killed or captured. So runner up, Good Will Hunting.
Yeah.
I really sound like I don't like it, but I do like it. I think it's an actor's movie because they were allowed to improvise quite a bit. There was good work from people, yet I think with each one of the actors in the film, I could name a movie where they were better.
Yeah.
And then my choice is for number 1 is The Fisher King. I'm so glad you agree. I some people, I think those who don't like some aspects of sentimental cinema might end up bashing it, but there's so much good stuff in it. And I mean, I don't know if I can say that it's Jeff Bridges' best performance, but it was kind of like the first love and the first date I had with Jeff Bridges. So I'll always remember that. And I watched The Fabulous Baker Boys right after that. And I was like, I need to be watching more movies with this guy in them. I'm not sure I would say it's Robin Williams' best performance, but you are not alone. I've been talking to lots of people lately who agree with me, and I think it's perhaps it played to all of his strengths in such a complete way.
Yeah, as wacky and over the top as it is a lot of the time, there's subtlety to it as well.
Oh,
like I said, those moments of recognition where reality pops through his fantasy for a second, and he almost physically shakes it off, like, nope, not going there.
And knowing a lot more about PTSD, it was absolutely on point, and it got me thinking. That movie gets you thinking about you see somebody even in the streets of Saskatoon that's shouting about something, and it seems like they're hallucinating. It's like what has happened, and
what got them there?
The humanness of that type of person who was looked down upon in society, still is in many ways, but certainly in the early 90s in New York City, which had the rich Trump, dare I say the devil's name, half, and then the poor, struggling, homeless people at that time. It's a beautiful film, and I'm glad you mentioned the sequence in Grand Central Station, because it's just pure magic.
It's so good.
You can't.
It's so good.
You can't talk about it and describe it. You just have to experience it as a viewer.
We have pretty different lists.
I was afraid of that.
But I don't think we're gonna really scrap about it. I actually put The Night Listener in last place. Here's the thing. Maybe if I watch it again in 10 years, I'll get more out of it the way you did. But for me, this sort of seemed like a long story that didn't have a punchline in a lot of ways. I like Toni Collette a lot. And like I say, I like Robin Williams' performance. And, I think that I kind of wanted something to represent, because I do think he consciously was sort of trying to be supportive of the gay and lesbian community. And here he is, a central character who's gay, and that's not his defining role. So many times you see characters, I'm the gay friend, right? And that's it. That's who they are. Yeah. They're completely identified by their sexuality. And
like your number 6 is one. Mine is I hate this movie. I despise it. Your number 6 is I don't completely hate it. It's the least favorite of the 6. Yeah.
I'm gonna throw World's Greatest Dad in 5th position.
Okay.
And even to me, I feel like it's being a little bit thrown under the bus, but this is a gutsy movie that you need an auteur person to make. You have to be someone like Bobcat Goldthwait, who doesn't give a fuck and is just going to make his movie. And I mentioned movies like Election and Heathers to the peripheral. I'm talking about much better movies. The thing is that movies like Election and Heathers don't get made. Hollywood doesn't greenlight movies. Heathers would not get made today. I guarantee you. It would not get made today. And in a lot of any kind of mainstream way, neither would World's Greatest Dad. I think that it's too soft for the darkness of its subject matter, and that hurts it tonally. But I appreciate the balls that it takes to make a movie like this. It's ambitious. And for me, it
is that.
The redemption of the character, even though it involves him becoming a social pariah, works. And then in 4th position, I'm putting Hook. Same thing. It's very problematic, but there's enough good stuff there that I don't want to like. The production value is always good. Spielberg, is really good at staging things. And I gotta say, the stuff with the pirates is genuinely amusing.
Yeah.
It's fun. Like, I want a movie about the pirates. Like, it's called Hook. I almost wish that we could have just,
And I like the setup. I mean, I like the set. Maybe too much setup, but I like the stuff in London and Maggie Smith and all that.
So all the way in 3rd position, which may seem artificially high to you, is Man of the Year. In a way, I think it's a serviceable movie. The funny stuff is relatively workable. The political stuff is relatively workable. Levinson's made better movies than this on this subject. It's a role that Robin Williams, in a lot of ways, could have done in his sleep, because really he's playing a stand-up comedian celebrity. And I didn't feel anybody stretching themselves.
No.
It's fine. It's weird. Now we go to number 2, which is, of course, Good Will Hunting. Yeah. It's like all these other ones I'm apologizing for. Like, I keep saying these bad things, but it's a good movie. This movie is a good movie, and I keep saying bad things about it.
Yeah.
Just for me, I have always been perplexed at the amount of love this movie has. Like, people just fucking lost their minds over Good Will Hunting, right? And it's like, it's good.
Movement, yeah.
It's good. Everyone relax. I sort of felt the same way about Forrest Gump. Everybody lost their minds over how good Forrest Gump was. I'm like, it's fine. Everybody relax.
I think some people have projected the Citizen Kane curse onto it.
Maybe.
That it's
Overhyped.
A movie that gets the screenplay award, but not Best Picture. And because of some of the emotional impact, they thought it's a Best Picture type of quality film, but
yeah, I'm not recommending Good Will Hunting. I'm just saying
people will love it, but it's
a totally good movie, but it's not like one of the best movies of the 90s. It just isn't. And of course, number 1 is The Fisher King, because that's pretty close to the best movie of the 90s. It would be on the list for me. This is another one of those episodes where it was a list that had The Fisher King and 5 other movies. Like, there was like no competition for me.
The Fisher King is almost, I feel like it got forgotten about too. If I ask the average person what is your 3 favorite Robin Williams films, I think you'll be hearing about Aladdin, Mrs. Doubtfire, Good Will Hunting, maybe Dead Poets Society, Good Morning Vietnam. I'm glad Criterion brought it out, and it seems like it's getting some attention now, and hopefully this podcast helps.
I think that Gilliam will go down. People will remember Gilliam because of how distinct the films he makes. Like,
and Monty Python, alone. Wouldn't have been the same without him.
The cultural
involved.
ripples of Monty Python are still being felt today.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's not like when I was a kid and I was like singing "Sit on My Face" and telling me that you love me when I'm like 9 years old and I had no fucking idea what they were talking about. I just think it's an absurd song about people sitting on each other's faces.
What a ridiculous thing to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
How silly and funny. But that's it, it's brilliant for kids, it's brilliant for adults. It's really I love his imagination. So in a way, the books were a little cooked this episode. I'm happy that you agreed with me.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me on
Thank
this
you for having me.
to Robin Williams. Again, I like the man. I don't love all his movies, but I love the man. And I'm sad at how things played out for him.
Yeah. It seems like there's just a real loss right now with any celebrity, and there have been a lot of them lately. But that one hit hard for many people, and he was a very loved guy, and you feel like you know somebody. I think that was the thing that was tough, is people thought they knew him, and
he was our buddy, and he was always going to be there.
He'd always be there, but and whatever happened with the death, I mean, it was just tragic, but
it was mental illness. Like
yeah,
he was another victim of mental illness.
And there have been so many
plague
so many, and I hope that it brings it more to the forefront, and people are thinking more about this and not just sort of accepting how people are at face value, because some of the happiest seeming people are struggling quite a bit, and so I hopefully we can learn from this.
Lift a glass to the sad clown.
Indeed.
There will never be another Robin Williams. So endeth the lesson on Robin Williams. We'll be talking about him again. I do have plenty of other movies that include this talented individual that will bump into him again. And I'm sure Mr. Jason Dubray shall return as well. So thank you for tuning into this different tribute episode of Rankin Review. Please send any feedback or thoughts you have to me at rankinreview@gmail.com. That's RANKNREVIEW@gmail.com. Find us on iTunes, find us on Facebook. Tell that other film fan in your life about it. And thank you, as always, so very much for listening. I do appreciate it. Lots of love from your host and Random Canadian, Larry Parsons.